Welcome to the ZenRUN Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Each week we dive into the real, raw and often unexpected journeys of everyday runners. Because every runner has a story and every story has the power to inspire. If you've got a running story of your own, whether you're just lacing up for the first time or you're deep into your ultra journey, I'd love to hear it. Sharing your experience might be just the thing that someone else needs to get out the door. And hey, if you're looking for a bit of motivation or just want to keep your running fun and stress-free, check out ZenRUN. It's a relaxed space with guided runs, simple training plans, and monthly challenges to help you stay consistent without the pressure. All right, let's jump into this week's story. It's a good one. Today on the ZenRUN Podcast, I'm chatting with the awesome Faith Raymond. Faith was actually my coach trainer when I did my UESCA ultra running coach certification last year. So it was really fun to flip things around and get to know more about her own story. And what a story it is. We talk about horses, marathons, ultra running, coaching, treadmill tips, snowy Vermont trails, and how Faith found running later in life after a pretty unexpected turning point. She's smart, she's funny, super experienced, and full of practical wisdom, especially for those of us who are no longer 22, but still love a big running goal. So let's get into it. Today on the ZenRUN Podcast, I'm really excited to introduce you all to Faith Raymond. Now, she was my coach when I was learning to be a baby coach. I'm still a baby coach. I'm using the UESCA platform. So I was trying to, or am, and have been certified, thanks to Faith's wonderful teaching, to be an ultra running coach. But I really wanted to talk to Faith and share her with you all because, you know, she's pretty amazing. So Faith, thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast.
You are too kind.
Not at all.
I'm happy to be here.
And I'm also very curious, like, where did you get all this experience from? And what, you know, I want to learn more about Faith now because you've played such a pivotal role in my running coaching career, baby as it is still. So, yeah.
You're awesome.
Purely selfish reason. All right, Faith, let's start a little bit, get into a little bit of your background. Tell me, where did you grow up, that kind of stuff? What was your childhood like?
Oh, you don't want to know that, believe me.
No, that's why I asked.
No.
The potted version of your childhood, whatever you're happy to share.
So I actually grew up in Massachusetts, a little town in Massachusetts. Quite sheltered, actually. Very small town. I had, I think, like 74 kids in my graduating class. Yeah. So everyone knew everyone. Everyone was in everyone's business. Like, you couldn't get away with anything in that town because everyone had eyes on everybody.
Well, I don't want to butt in, but I grew up on a tiny island with 1,500 people, and there was 50 people in my graduating year.
Yeah, so
I understand.
And you know what? I didn't appreciate it then, but I appreciate it now that it was just so safe because everyone did watch out for everybody, right? Back then you're like, oh, you're sticking your nose in everybody's business. But now looking back as an adult, right, I see how precious that is.
That's true.
No. So yeah. And not going to get into the specifics, but I had some struggles growing up. Spent lots of time elsewhere outside of home.
Yeah.
And one of the things that saved me, I mean, my best friend and her family really saved me, but I rode horses as my escape, you know, and that's what I did. I always joke about that, right? In a former life, I rode horses for a living. That's what I did. So I wasn't always a runner. That came very late in life.
You know, I grew up on a farm and had horses too. So Snap, small place, horses. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It was wonderful. It was wonderful growing up that, that part of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, there's something about horses, not that we get into horse, but I mean, maybe even animals themselves, like that being able, they're kind of unconditionally there for you. And
absolutely.
when you're going through stuff, you can, I used to go for rides and chat with my horse and we'd talk all about it.
Yeah.
Like,
And it made me feel accomplished and
yeah,
strong and, all of that stuff.
I love
So
that. That's so
it was
cool.
wonderful.
So you say you weren't a runner as a kid, but at school here in Australia, you have to participate in different events at school, and often like running events
Yep.
is one of them. Was that the same for you growing up? Did you have to
Oh,
participate?
yeah. Yeah. We have to take physical education every year from, first grade to 12th.
Yeah.
And then we also, I think like in middle school, we had what we call field day. So it was towards the end of the year,
Yeah.
instead of a school day, you were out on the playground and they would do, three-legged race and sack race and all of that stuff. And, we all participated in all of that. I was actually a cheerleader
Oh,
in junior and
really?
senior high. Yeah. Yep. That was my sport, if you will. I dabbled in softball. I did play intramural softball for a couple of
Yeah.
years, but was not athletically inclined. Like I was busy with the horses, and then yeah, I wanted to do something, a group activity. So that's what I did. So I was a cheerleader too. Yeah.
Do you remember cheerleading is such a, I think it's becoming a bit more of a thing in Australia now, but certainly when I was a kid, it was just something in the movies they did in America. Like it's not something that we had as a staple at schools.
Yeah, and back when a million years ago when I was in school, it wasn't so much like the whole competition thing was just starting. Like my squad never went to any of those. We cheered at soccer games, basketball games, what cheerleaders did. We didn't do, and now it's a huge
Competition.
sport over here. A
Yeah.
huge sport. Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
Another aside, sorry for keep interrupting you. This is why, because
Hmm.
this is like, I wanted to know more about Faith, but now I want to share stuff about me with Faith as well.
Okay. Great. It's awesome.
My sister's young child, uh, they live, here in Tasmania in a small school as well. And they last year went over to America and went into a cheerleading competition, and they won
See?
their section, which was
That
like,
is
I'm talking about
awesome.
like little kids. They're sort of, I don't know, they might be 10 or
Yeah.
something. They're not very old. So it was quite like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
fascinating.
So it's really changed. Like I said, back when I was on the squad, we cheered for the sports in other sports teams.
Yeah, that's so funny. All right.
Yeah.
When you were running specifically, you were at school when you were a kid, do you remember what you thought about running, or you didn't, you're kind of ambivalent towards it?
I was fast. Like I was one of the faster kids. But it just wasn't something that was on my horizon as
Yeah.
far as an interest because it wasn't a big thing back then.
Mm,
Right.
interesting.
And even when I got to junior and senior high, we did not have a track. So we
Yeah.
did not have track and field. All they had was a cross country team. And it was a boys cross country. It was co-ed, but there was only
Yeah.
one girl.
Yeah.
So she just ran with the boys,
Yeah.
But again, I was cheerleading and riding. So it was not something
You wanted to.
that interested me
Yeah.
at the time.
So at least it sounds like sometimes on the podcast we talk about what it was like for kids at school, because often it wasn't a pleasant experience. Like they were made to run, it was like compulsory unless you had a letter from your mum or whatever, and you had to go, you had to participate. And a lot of people hated it, and they bring that into their adulthood, that not liking it. Or
Yeah.
they're a bit like you and me. I was actually quite good at school at running, And as a result, in my head, I didn't have those negative connotations. So when I was an adult, took on running again, I thought,
Yeah.
wasn't negative towards it. So it wasn't as, as hard to get into it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Felt
Yeah.
accessible.
Yeah.
But it sounds like for you, it wasn't like something you didn't like. It just wasn't because you did well at it, that often you feel better about something. But
Yeah.
it just wasn't a sport you pursued at the time.
No, because like I said, there wasn't a lot to do with it. Right.
Interesting. What did you do when you how did your progression through school go? Like, what did you do when you left? I always mix up what you call different parts of school. Like we would just go straight from, high school into university or
Yeah.
sometimes we call it college, but year 11 and 12. And then we would go into university where you would specialize in, I don't know, teacher, lawyer, doctor, whatever. What did you do? What was your progression?
I went to work actually.
What did you do?
A little bit of everything. I mean, my biggest thing was I just wanted to get a job so I could move out. I just,
independence.
I wanted to leave. I needed to leave.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember what my first job was. I really don't. I think I might have worked for an accountant in town. That might have been my first job, but my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. And yet it's the way it's kind of weird the way it works here. My parents couldn't afford to send me to college, but we made too much money for me to get financial aid. So yeah. And we did not want to go into Hawk for, anyway, so I went to college later in life. I actually started college when I was 45, I think.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And then went into debt at 45.
Why not?
Yeah.
So you come out of school and you go to work, and then you did lots of different things. What happened in that, between that and 45? There's 25 years there. Tell us the potted version that you're happy to share.
Well, that's when I say I rode horses for a living, I did that for a long time. Yeah.
So were you a jockey? Were you a trainer? Were you what did you?
I was a barn manager for a big 100 jumper barn in Connecticut.
You have to speak in he's just speaking Australian. Not Australian. Right. Okay. So people who had horses in stables and things, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And show jumping, when you see show jumping on, that's what our barn did. Yeah.
I've never heard it called a barn. I know what a barn is, like a building.
Yeah.
But I've never heard, a place where you would keep horses, a barn.
Yeah. That's stable. Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what I did for a long time. I worked for a few different farms.
So these are places where people who are, say, show jumpers, or, in some way related, so they have a horse, but they don't have land themselves to keep the horse.
Correct.
So they adjust the horse at these places, but also in with that comes the management of the horses as well, or the care of the horses.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that model exists here in Australia, but I'm not all that familiar with it. So
yeah. So you could kind of think of it as, a groom who is in charge of a string of racehorses.
Yeah.
Cleaning stalls, feeding, turnout, all of that. So I did all of that, and in exchange, I got paid, but I also got lessons. Yeah. So I rode there and showed their horses too. Because the farm had their own horses. She bought and sold, that sort of things. It was a pretty good sized facility.
Yeah. So that would be very physical, I would think.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm paying for it now.
I was going to say, all that, even when we were kids on a farm, we had a bunch of horses and we used to pretend stable them because I was just thinking, interestingly, we didn't have to stable them because like the weather over here
Sure.
is not that you would have to stable them for that reason. And I know you stable for other reasons, like keeping their coat good and during showing times and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we used to pretend stable and just shoveling out all of the hay and the
Yep.
when we were just mucking around as kids. I'm like, oh, glad we don't have to do this all this time just because we decided to do it for a week, and then we put them back in the paddock, so silly things like that. But so I imagine would be quite back-breaking, not to mention just the occasional fall from a horse where the horse might kick you or push you into something, mostly unintentionally.
Yep. I went right over sideways one time, me and the horse right over sideways. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So what were some of your favorite stuff with horses that you did as an adult?
So actually, once I moved on from that, the next farm I worked at, they did carriage driving. And they had a horse there that someone they knew had, and this is really a funny, wacky circle. So this woman lived in Connecticut. She had rescued this horse. It was a standardbred. She had rescued this horse. And then she decided to move back near her children. So they needed to find a new home for this guy. And because she had rescued him from a kill auction, she did not want that happening again. So if they couldn't find him a new home, she was going to have him euthanized, rather than, So I came along. I didn't have a horse, and so I got him for free. And I don't know how much you know about standardbreds, but they're not exactly good for a whole lot except racing.
I do. I have had one on loan a bit for a few years right here where I live now, years ago.
And mine was a pacer to boot.
Yep.
So then you get it.
I do.
But he was not afraid of a whole lot. So I did a lot of trail riding with him. And that they got me, the people who owned the farm got me into endurance riding and competitive trail. And that eventually, we can hit on this later, but that eventually led me into running in kind of but the funny, wacky circle about getting the horse, the town that this woman moved back to live near her children is the town I now live in Vermont.
No.
Yes. It just coincidence. When we bought the house here, like something in the back of my memory went, I feel like this is where so-and-so moved. And sure enough, that she moved back. Yeah.
And do you see her? Like, is she still
Oh,
there?
no, unfortunately, she's passed away. Yeah, because she was, so this was 20 years ago.
Okay.
probably 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she was maybe 60 or 70 when she left Connecticut to come back up here. So, yeah. And my senior brain does not remember what her last name was, so I can't ask around about her.
I've got one of those. I think we're about the same age. I think we worked that out. I've got a senior brain too. So it's pretty funny that we could be on a podcast sort of chatting and still be able to get points of view across without having to forget too much.
Who are you? No, just kidding.
Right. My name's written on the screen. If you,
that's true. That's
handy,
true,
isn't it? All right. So you were you did this for how long? So you worked with horses like most of your working life.
And then when I wasn't working on a horse farm, I was working for veterinarians. So,
wow. And what were you doing for them? Like as a vet nurse
as a tech? Yep, as a tech. And I did large and small animals. So,
oh,
yeah.
So you sound like a person who loves animals to me, Faith.
Well, because they don't talk back.
They don't. They bark sometimes. Like
They do, but like you said earlier, they love unconditionally, right? There's no strings attached. There's no expectations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's interesting. So you did all of that kind of work. Why did you stop it, or have you stopped it?
Oh, yeah, I had to. Yeah, I just couldn't, the body just couldn't take it anymore. Yeah.
So how long ago was that you stopped working with horses as a full-time sort of gig?
Oh, gosh. Probably 18 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you get into 18 years ago?
Well, then I went to college a little. So when I left the vet world, again, I can't, like, sometimes I can't remember the timeline anymore.
Nobody listening is going to get it out and go, "Hey, Faith, that was wrong. You were out by 6 months."
But it was about that same time that, let's see, 2011. Yeah. So it was about that same time that I started college. I have a master's degree in oceanography that I've never used. That's another story.
Have you ever lived near the ocean?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay then.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
I just got this picture of you living more sort of in the center of America.
No, I lived right on the shoreline of Connecticut.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
that makes more sense then, because my brain was like, "You live near the ocean, do you?" Anyway,
yeah, and
I'm not
it was right about that same time that I found running. Okay. So that was a big shift in my life.
Why did you study?
I supplemented I did get a stipend. I worked in the lab at school, but I also worked in a run specialty store as another income.
Why did you study oceanography?
Because I love the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love science. And the plan was that I could go anywhere and work, right? For an aquarium or for, in a lab in a college somewhere. And my senior year, I met my husband and he had 30 years in the job that he was at. So he wasn't going to move anytime soon.
And he wasn't. And life just,
no, well, it was, but it severely limited. Yeah. Like the shoreline of Connecticut doesn't have a whole lot of options.
Yeah. So, I get it. Yeah.
So life took a different turn again.
Tell me about that turn. We'll get back into running shortly.
Well, that's what I did, is because I had gotten involved in running, and I didn't, there was very little places I could use my education. I actually was a substitute teacher for a long time for science and math and aquaculture, things like that. So I did actually use some of what I learned.
Awesome.
But yeah, so it just life became something else again,
So let's go back just a tiny bit. You said it was during this time when you were studying oceanography. I think I probably stuffed that up. How did running become part of what you decided to do at that point? Because obviously it's, one's about water. I could understand maybe if you started swimming, but the other one is about a land activity.
Yeah. So it was actually an act of God.
Really?
That literally an act of God. My little hometown in Massachusetts in 2011 got hit with an EF3 tornado that ripped right through the center of town. And that was an experience that none of us had ever had. I was living in Connecticut at the time, but my parents and my brother still lived in town.
Yeah.
Luckily, outside the debris zone, so they did not have any damage to their homes. But a lot of my friends from school who still lived in town or their parents lost their homes. Yeah, I mean, the elementary school where we went to school took the roof right off the building, so that building had to be condemned eventually. Two churches lost their steeples. Like it was a big mess. Yeah. And I was coming back to town to help however I could, whether it was delivering water or, whatever I could do with my limited skills, and someone in town decided it was like that August, I think, decided to do a benefit 5K to raise money. Okay. And I decided I wanted to do it, having never really run since I was a kid. And I survived that 5K.
Go you!
And then found out that there was a half marathon in town that I never knew had existed. Also a benefit race for two sisters who unfortunately passed away from two different kinds of cancer at two different times. Yeah. Oh, wow. How much can one family take, right? So that was my next move. The following years, I wanted to do that half marathon. So I did the half marathon.
And did you train?
I did. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I trained for the 5K too. Oh, I mean, 6 weeks, whatever, So one of my friends that I rode a lot of miles on the trail with had been a lifelong runner. So she's like, if you want to do this 5K, she goes, I'll do it with you. She goes, well, I'll help you out. She goes, I'm not a coach or anything, but I can,
guide you,
help you. Yeah. So she did. And then when I didn't have the horse anymore, she and I ran a lot together. So it was an extension of that friendship. Right.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So you start running because of this act of God.
Literally.
your childhood town. But right now we're talking about you having moved on from just doing a 5K some 15 odd years ago.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, like from the way you were talking before, you went from oceanography, getting married, deciding it's going to be a bit tough to follow up on my oceanography career. So, but I've been working in a running shop. So I like this running thing. And from how you were talking, that running has become more of where you went work-wise. Perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was a runner I was still in college. It was before I had graduated so I have to think, I think I graduated in 2015. So it was 2011. So for those 4 years, probably the last two of my undergrad and then my 2 years for my master.
Yeah.
I was a runner. And just immersed myself in that world. Like, I don't know if you're going to ask me why it appealed to me. I don't have an answer for you.
Do you think you supported your study? Because again, that is something that I've touched on over the years on the podcast with people who have been studying or doing some, that kind of activity while they're running.
I think it was more, I missed the freedom of like riding the trails, like being, and the running. Yeah, it was on the road at first before I transitioned to being a trail runner, but you could still just go and be out in nature, right? Yeah. So I kind of think it was just a natural progression that I still wanted to be out in the woods or,
Yeah.
On the dirt roads or anything like just out of civilization. I don't
Away
like
from
people, if I'm to be honest.
away
I
from
don't
the community. I know someone like that. My husband's like that.
you know.
He would prefer not to talk to lots of people if he doesn't have to.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we moved away from when my husband retired, we moved away from the shoreline of Connecticut. It was just too people-y.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't love people, I do, but I like my solitude sometimes too,
Yeah, it's interesting. That's all the different kinds of people that we are, and what fills us up, and what
Yeah.
how we get filled up, and
Yep.
that I heard a while ago someone explaining it, in that if you've been in a big crowd of people and later on you feel like you need to have some downtime because you just feel so drained, doesn't mean you didn't enjoy it, but you just feel a bit drained.
Yeah.
Versus, someone like me, I can be in a big crowd of people and get all kind of excited, and later on I'm still all energized like an energized bunny because I'm a little bit more the other way, and that's fine. It's just different
Yeah.
styles. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't necessarily like to be around a lot of people all the time either. So yeah, we're very complex humans.
But yeah, I think that's what it was. It was just I was searching, like I wanted to do something that was going to keep me moving my body and keep me outdoors.
Yeah.
So once I had done that 5K and then the half marathon and then it just progressed from there to like an obsession.
And then you turned it into your work of sorts. So
Yeah.
how did that go? What was the progression to that?
So because I started running late in life, I think I was maybe 40. I don't even remember. How old was I in 2011? I don't remember.
So
40s,
you
late
56,
40s.
57 now? 50?
I'm 61.
Are you 61? Oh, you are a little bit older than me. I thought you were actually closer to, like, I'm 57, so we're still very
Yeah.
close. I was going to tell
Yeah.
you exactly how old you were because I can tell how old I was at any given time.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. So, because I started running later in life, and it was before this explosion of working with masters, women especially, and how different that can be with our bodies and such, that when I was struggling and nobody really knew how to help me, right? Because they all train coaches and everyone would train you like you were 20 years old,
Yeah.
and you can't do that anymore. And why, you give me a 30 or 40-minute run with, some higher intensity stuff in the middle. And I'm like, you do realize I don't warm up for 30 minutes, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it was so foreign. It was so, right. And I was talking to my husband about it and he's like, well, maybe you should be a coach and fill that void, right? Because you can relate to women who are having the same struggles,
Yeah.
right? So that was the catalyst to that.
Awesome. And so did you just put up your shingle yourself? How
No,
did that go?
no, I researched certifications.
Yep.
And because I'm a nerd and I have that scientific background, when I found UESCA, that was it. Like I knew that was the one I wanted because it was so steeped in science.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And now Rick rid of me.
I will put, for everyone else that we've mentioned it maybe a couple of times now, but I'll put a link to the UESCA website too. So if anyone's interested in doing some training with them, they'll know what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 Great.
I first heard about UESCA here on the podcast. One of my guests about 3 years ago, maybe
Really?
before, he had done it. And I always forget his name. He's a French guy but lives in Australia who does ultra running, and he did it, the ultra training running ultra coach. It's such a mouthful. The ultra
Ultra
running
running
coach
certification.
certification. Too many big words together. Yeah, and anyway, that's when I first heard about it from a guest, which was really cool. So anyway,
Nice.
so you got into that and became a coach with them, and that's been, that's what you do now for quite a
That's
few
what I
years.
do now.
Which is
Yeah.
amazing. Now, I want to go back a bit and talk more specifically about your running. So you did 5, you did 21, and then you talked about the transition. You didn't explain necessarily why, apart from perhaps the memory of what it was like as a young person riding horses on trails. But what made you even go into trails? I've spoken to people on the podcast who go, I've run on the road for years and years, and suddenly someone said something about trail running. I didn't even know what it was. It's kind of hit me.
Yeah. I think Jamie was the catalyst for that. She was the one that I rode a lot with, and because she ran cross country, she ran trails, so she just introduced me to it. And yeah, so we did like a couple of little. I'm sorry, I'm American. I'm going to say it in miles. It's like 2.4 mile. There was a next town over from where I was. They have a like a summer series. So every Wednesday night they have this same little 2.4 mile trail race. So we kind of started going to that, and it just progressed from there. Like I still was a marathon runner. That was for me. Like I had no idea. I didn't even know ultra running existed. I can't say that. I think I blocked it from my memory actually. And this is the other part of that funny wacky circle I was talking about earlier. So marathons, I had done a lot of marathons, had just done, some trail running with Jamie and some other friends, kind of getting into that. And I don't really remember how I heard about like the first 50K I did, but I remember the catalyst for that being I had run so many marathons. And what's a marathon runner's holy grail in this country? The Boston Marathon.
I was going to say one of your big city ones. That's right.
Well, Boston, right? Everyone wants to do Boston. And no matter what I did, I could not even get close to the qualifying time that I needed for my age group. I was always right, like within 5 or 10 minutes, give or take, of the same time on almost all of my marathons, except for my first one. They all fell right around the 4:15 mark, and I needed below 4 hours for my age group. So I kind of got tired of beating my head against the wall, and I'm like, I'm not going to get any faster, so I'm going to go longer instead. And like I said, I don't remember where I heard about the first 50K I did. Probably just someone I was talking to probably mentioned it. So I went and did that. And I did a few 50Ks, and then I wanted like a bigger goal. And the race that appealed to me is the Vermont 100K. They have a 100-miler and they have a 100K. And if you don't know anything about the Vermont 100, it's the only race left of its kind that has the human foot race and the horse event on the same day on the same trails.
I might have, that does sound familiar though. I reckon I've read that somewhere.
Yeah. So Western states also used to have it, and now that's split. Western states and the Tevis Cup is now 2 different times during the year. And then Old Dominion in Virginia was also the same way. And those are now split. But I did the 50-mile version on my horse. So I remember seeing the people running this race and thinking they are absolutely out of their fucking mind.
They're nuts.
They're nuts. And yeah, here I am. So when it came time for me to kind of go beyond 50K,
Yeah.
I wanted that to be my goal, because this event and this race means so much to me. The charity, everything about it, that I wanted that to be my first 100K.
Oh, wow. And the
So, yeah.
horse connection too, like you said, that there's the whole crazy circles.
Yeah, so I know all the riders and I know all the runners now at this event. So it's like old home week for me.
I was going to say, it's like going home.
Great. Yeah, it's awesome, because a lot of the people I rode with 20 years ago are still doing it. So yeah, it's
That's
pretty
amazing.
awesome.
I love
Yeah,
that. So what time
awesome.
of the year is that on?
July.
And how many of those have you done now?
I've done the 100K, this particular event. Yeah, I've done the 100K 3 times, and I've done the 100-miler twice.
Wow. So you really got into that. I mean, well, that particular event sounds like you need to be there, or it doesn't go ahead either. They kind of expect you there.
Well, I'm on the committee now too.
There you go. So
I've just jumped. Once I moved up here, I just jumped right in. So yeah, I'm in charge of getting all the landowner permissions every year. So
wow, that's awesome. Well, there's another race. There's a few people on the podcast who, well, we've had quite a few Americans on the podcast as well, but there's a few Australians who go over quite regularly, at least once or twice a year, and do different events. Here's another one to put on their calendar.
Come to Vermont. Yeah.
Come to Vermont. There you go.
And you can run alongside the horses. It's a very cool event.
Wow. I love it.
It really is. Yeah.
Yep. All right. What does your running career look like to this point? Now we've talked about you road running to begin with, and then getting into the trails, and obviously, what made you get into the ultra trails as well. So what is, if you had to encapsulate your running career in a couple of sentences, what would that look like?
Good Lord.
I'm testing you.
Survival. No. So I think I progressed pretty quickly because, I started late in life. So of course it's very easy to get gains, right, in the first few years. And then you kind of hit the law of diminishing returns on the backside, right? So like I've done other 100-milers, and other races. But as I said, this one really holds a special place in my heart for many, many reasons. I have DNF'd the 100-miler twice.
Yeah.
Once was the first time I attempted it, because the heat index, again, I'm an American, sorry. The heat index that day was about 115 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And they had their highest DNF rate ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was dangerously hot. It was dangerously hot. And then we had COVID, so I had to wait like 3 years for redemption. And I finished it in 2023. Yeah. Yeah. And then I finished it again in 2024.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then I DNF'd again last year. And it became clear to me that this particular race, it has 17,000 feet of climbing over the 100 miles. Wow. It's a lot. You're always going up or down. There's very little flat at this race. And it's runnable because it's dirt roads, but still, it's a lot of climbing. And I just wasn't able to do the things I needed to do to take care of myself and stay ahead of the cutoffs.
Yeah.
Right. That's the challenge. I get it, but it wasn't fun for me to to do that. So I've decided this year I'm doing the 100K.
Okay.
Because I don't think I've done that one right yet either. It's always been just about survival. Mm-hmm. And I'm going into it this year with a different mindset. It's a much more forgiving cutoff for the 100K because it's on the 100-mile course. Mm-hmm. You run basically the last 62 miles of the course. Mm-hmm. So the course is open, right? So it's a 25-hour cutoff for 62 miles, right? Which you can do cartwheels and finish it in 25 hours, But I want to do much better than that. Like I'm instead of going into this race just wanting to survive, mm-hmm. this is the first time I'm standing on the start line with the intention of racing.
Wow.
So yeah. So it's kind of exciting. It's kind of scary, right? Because, if you blow up at mile 30, there's still 30 miles to go. But I'm okay with that. Like I've suffered through 100 miles. If I can do that, it's fine. And I'll get there.
I know you talked about the mindset, but will that change your training?
Yes.
A little as well.
Absolutely.
Like you'll include a little bit more, intensity.
A little bit more intensity and a little bit more just like laser focused on doing the right things, mm-hmm. right? Whether it be nutrition or hydration or my pacer knows me inside and out. He knows exactly what to do and when to do it. Mm-hmm. He's running the last 30 miles with me. So but it's having all those intentions, mm-hmm. right? And having it singularly focused on one goal.
That goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have any goals to go further than the 100 miles?
I think I would like to, but I'm kind of a pansy about being in the woods alone at night. I'm not a big fan.
No, you're not.
Oh, yes, I am. As a matter of fact, the 2 times that I have completed the Vermont 100, I have been lucky. So the 100-miler, you can't have a pacer until mile 70. Mm-hmm. And it's usually dark for me around mile 60.
Okay.
And the part where you have to go between 60 and 70 is like the most remote part of the course. So I've been extremely fortunate to latch on to another runner, leaving that 60-mile aid station and run with that person until I got to my pacer. So the thought of doing like a 200 or something and not having someone with me through the nights is really, really scary. So
what is it that scares you? I mean, is that a silly question?
I don't know.
You have other things in your wilderness than we have here in Australia, but
yeah, I don't know what I don't think it's any one thing, to be quite honest.
Rational. I mean, most of us have fears that are not rational.
Yeah, I don't think it's any one thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because most of what we have here in New England, as far as wildlife, is way more afraid of us than we are of them. Mm-hmm. Right. We don't have grizzly bears. We don't have mountain lions. We have black bear, but as soon as they see you, they split. Like they're out of here, skunks, raccoons, stuff like they don't care. They see you before you see them, and then they're bolting. Yeah. So I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan. I love running at night. Don't get me wrong. That's probably my most favorite thing to do is to run at night, but not alone.
When I was in my race last year, in the middle of the night, I was listening to a scary novel, Norwegian crime novel, and I was running by myself through a forest. And I remember thinking, oh, and then I changed it to music. I was all right after that. But it was like, that was the one time, because our brain does plays tricks on us. And I was feeding my brain with this scary novel at the same time as running through this, with funny shadows and things in the dark forest.
Did have one experience. I was at a race in Texas, and they do have things down there that will kill you. Matter of fact, I have a picture of the photographer placed himself right near this 16 or 17-foot alligator.
Oh,
yeah. So I have a picture of me he didn't care about us because he'd already eaten and he was just basking in the sun. But anyway, there's one section on that again, from one aid station to the next is extremely remote. And I was by myself. I did not have a pacer at that time. But it was an out and back. So you always were seeing other people, right? Except we had just left the aid station, headed to the next one. And it was me and there was someone running just along. He was just passing me as this pack of coyotes started yipping and he's like, that doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling.
No.
Right. So he kept going and I'm like, okay. So I just plodding along and there's other people. I get to that far aid station and then I turn around to head back and I maybe 5 minutes out and I become aware that there are no headlamps ahead of me and there are no headlamps behind me.
Ooh.
And I'm like, well, this is where it ends right here. But I did manage to get back to that other aid station and not get eaten by the pack of coyotes.
I'm glad to hear that.
But I think that does stick with me a little bit.
Yeah.
We do have coyotes here. We do have those. And if they're in a pack, it's not a good idea for you to be alone.
Okay.
But
that's good to know.
Again, the chances of me seeing one on this course is like zero. But
I'm in the middle of organizing all of the gear that I have to take for my event coming up, and we have to have a snake bandage as one of them.
Great. Do
you have some interesting things you have? I imagine, I don't know, things that repel bears and scare coyotes or
Yeah. No. If they're in a pack, it's like a pack of wild dogs. There's not a whole lot you're going to do about that, But again, we're not their normal prey.
Yeah, so they're not that interested really.
Right. And as far as snakes, I think we do have rattlers here, but I've never seen one ever. Okay. So hopefully I never do. I don't mind snakes. I used to have a boa constrictor. I don't mind them at all. Wow. I do not want to see a rattler. Thank you very much.
Especially not rattling.
Especially not rattling. Right.
I've heard that's not good. We don't have those ones. We have lots of other ones that are poisonous. So for you going further at this time, it's more about being alone in the dark.
Yeah.
Not wanting to choose that as a.
Yeah. I think if I had someone I could either do the event with, or if I, had a crew, up till now, my husband has been my crew chief, but he just cannot stay awake for 30 plus hours anymore. The last time he did that, he drove home, we were living here, as a matter of fact. And the start line is only about 30 minutes from here. He was driving home and we stopped at a 4-way stop sign and the other car went and we weren't moving. And I looked over and he was sleeping behind the wheel. Yep. So he doesn't do 30 plus hours anymore. So I would have to put together, the right crew and the right people
to make it happen.
I'm not opposed to it for sure. I think it would be a lot of fun again because it's a lot lower intensity. I think, I could do very well at it. But it's just about making that happen.
Yeah. What do you think drives you, Faith, to do these, what I'd say ordinary people, but people who don't run ultra distances would think most of us are a little bit crazy. We just think it's normal.
Yes.
But yeah, so what do you think drives you to do these things?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I just love to run now, now that I found it and it's a part of me. It's not just something I do, right? It's who I am, which really comes back to bite me in the ass every time I get hurt and I can't, right? Yeah. So I rode horses all my life. And the worst thing I ever got was like a couple of fractured ribs when my horse fell over on me. And since I've started running, I've broken both shoulders, a wrist, and an ankle falling on the trail. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was that mostly during training or did you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was all during training and all different times, by the way.
Oh, I hope so. Well,
all
no,
at once.
I don't know if so. No, it's not right that I hope so, because maybe it would have been better to do all those things at one time and just recover from that one time than recover multiple times.
So it is so much a part of me now that when I can't do it, it's not pretty.
So when do you think you first called yourself a runner?
I don't know. I don't know.
You do call yourself a runner, or?
Yeah, but I don't know that there was any one specific like thing that sticks out in my mind.
So how do you cope with it when you can't? When you can't run, which is what you brought up a minute ago with your injuries, how do you deal with that? What do you do?
Whatever else I can, right? So when I broke my ankle, I was 2 weeks into training for my first marathon.
Oh.
I was 16 weeks out from my first marathon.
Ouch.
And I still ran it and finished. So, but it was a lot of like pool running and stationary bike. And, so luckily my orthopedist did not put me in a cast. I was in a boot. So I could take the boot off and pool run or swim or, whatever he let me do, I did. And I still finished that marathon.
It does, there is still a drive there. We talked about that before, because there's so many humans out there. We're just really comfortable, especially this day and age in the modern world that we have. We all get so comfortable. I love comfort. In fact, I think it's innately built into us, because if we didn't take rest when we needed to, we wouldn't be able to do all the other things we had to do as humans. Before things were so comfortable. So our bodies kind of go, oh yes, time to rest, quick rest, you need to rest. And so we gravitate towards that too much, as we see in modern society at the moment. And yet there are those of us now who seem to push the other way. It's not that we don't like the comfort. I love it when I finish a run and can have a coffee and just sit down or whatever and just chill and oh my gosh, I've just run, whatever distances. I can watch a Netflix series and binge it if I want, because I've done, we reward ourselves with these comfort things. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, what is it that drives us, especially those people listening to this podcast and the two of us, to keep pushing? Like, even when you're injured, there are people who would have said, okay, my ankle's injured. I just won't do that marathon this time. And instead you go and do something. And I've done pool running. It's embarrassing. It's awkward. It's like, I would have to drive there. I don't just put my shoes on and go out the door and go running. I'd have to, it takes a lot of, and maybe uncomfort's not the right word, but you have to go out of your way to make all those other things happen and to keep training and to do it in a way that you're not comfortable with, because you get comfortable with certain types of running training. Why? How do we help other people tap into that, I suppose, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's just the personality, right? Like, you've heard of the Barkley marathons, right?
Yes.
Laz. So there's something that Laz says that is so true. It's so many of the people who sign up for that race in particular have like advanced college degrees and have like driven careers. So I think it's really just a part of your personality, right? Like what drove me to get a master's degree at 40 something years old, right? So I think that some people just have that innate thing about them that drives them to do whatever it is they do, you know?
Again, a question I ask quite a lot is whether you're goal driven or, and you've already said, that you are, and maybe that is
Absolutely.
it. Like these driven people set that
Yep.
goal. Is it a marathon? Is it a master's degree? Is it whatever it is?
Sure.
And I've had a few PhDs in the middle of their PhD on the podcast, and they're, going crazy trying to get that done. But they're still fitting in the time for all of their running and often ultra running. Again, I mean, it goes to the same point. That they set a goal and they do whatever they can to make that happen.
Yeah, I was like that riding too. Like as much as I loved riding, I always had to have a goal, whether it was a horse show or a competitive trail ride or an endurance race, or, I had to have something that I was working towards.
How long do you think you will run for, Faith, in your life? It's a trick question.
I hope you find me on the side of the trail, actually.
Exactly.
I really do.
Yeah. Out doing what it is you love.
Exactly.
Become innately part of you. Because you're human, I think everybody should run a little bit. They don't have to run stupid distances like we do. And I shouldn't say stupid, but
oh, it's stupid. Trust me.
But everyone should run.
What we do is not smart when you get right down to it.
You do it clever. So have you found, you said earlier about the uptake of this kind of running for especially people of our age. It seems to be, if not actually not even just our age, I think just the uptake of this ultra trail community. I mean, it's grown a lot, and COVID seems to have really kicked it and made it down the road even faster.
Right.
So, have you noticed that because you've been working in this space?
Yeah, for sure. COVID was a huge catalyst, I think, for a lot of activities, not just running, right? I don't know about, in Australia, but here, like bike shops couldn't keep bikes in stock.
Yeah, that's
like people, skis or rollerblades or right, because that was the only thing you could do was do something outside, right? And all the gyms were closed. So if you wanted to stay fit, you had to figure out how to do it on your own.
You could run within 5 kilometers of your home, at least here.
We never had that. But, they didn't want you gathering in large groups and things of that nature. But I was extremely fortunate where I lived when COVID happened. So the town we lived in is a Navy town. There's a Navy base, submarine base there. And we lived right across the street, actually right on the edge of Navy housing. So I could just run out my door and have all kinds of roads to run on and be safe because there were Navy guys everywhere. And, if you started screaming, I think at least 7 people would come out their house with a gun, right?
Oh my gosh.
They do.
It's like a whole other world. Like even, and I shouldn't say it, but we have talked on the podcast about it because there was a couple of running women here who did get hurt in Australia, I think, and passed away, who were killed. But it was so uncommon, like for people to even talk about like fear, like just not as, and yet, I think in America it's a little bit more, in the public consciousness of being
it is,
right. Thinking about your safety in that way when you're in a town
and
or a city or whatever.
I never worried about it there ever.
I thought you were going to say, like, because my mind's, I thought you were going to say because the Navy had all of these, great grounds you could run on, and like the, gym equipment we were allowed, I thought you were going to talk about that,
No.
their facilities, rather than the fact that
No.
they were around
No.
and therefore you felt safer. Yeah. So it's just
Yeah.
an interesting mindset.
Yep. Yep. So it was quite nice. But yeah, I do agree that I think, COVID really got people outside and doing things. So I guess there was one upside to it, right? One.
Just that one. I wanted to ask you what you think your life would be like now if you hadn't picked up running during your, as an adult during your study, and if that tornado,
Wow.
that act of God hadn't happened. Oops.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'd be doing something, I'm sure. Because I've
Stretching
always
yourself.
been active. Always. I was a tomboy growing up. So I was always active doing something, and my husband as well. So I would be doing something. I just don't know what. I don't know that I would have ever found running without that.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
I haven't really thought about it.
what do you think? Like, you've taken on running now so much so, not that it's just your hobby that you're addicted to, but you help other people get addicted to it as well, which is very kind of you.
Yes.
So,
You're welcome.
what is running giving your life apart from, everything? I don't know, what is running giving you? It's not everything.
So I think it gave me the same thing that riding did. Just like a sense of identity and confidence that, I'm worthy. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
A lot of people that I've spoken to who've done ultra events on the podcast talk about feeling that if they can take their own body that distance, and I've had the same feeling, that there isn't anything they can't do, like that nothing can stop them. And I guess maybe that goes to the same kind of personality type we were talking about before with the drive and that sort of thing. But is there a sense of relentlessness, or you never quite reach the thing? Because once you get the 100-mile, or once you get the whatever, there is always something else. And you can turn it into, I dabble with, should I do some kind of personal challenge that'll take me months and months and months? There is no, and maybe that's fine. That's just human endeavor to strive forward. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that you should never stop. You should never stop exploring. Sorry, North Face, but I'm going to steal your tagline. You should never stop exploring your limits or going after that thing that you love to do.
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason for you to feel like, oh, this is it. I've reached, this goal, and now I'm good. I don't think that's what life is about.
So, and that exploring isn't just always a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing as well.
Absolutely. Or learning, right? A cerebral thing, right? Even if if you have a master's degree, it doesn't mean you can't keep learning about whatever subject interests you.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Does your husband run?
Used to.
He doesn't run now?
No, he can't. He beat up his body worse than I did.
Oh, did he? That's one of the benefits of starting a bit later, I think. The injuries take a lot longer to compile. And maybe we're not as gung-ho as well. Like if you're a little bit older when you started, then you're not as gung-ho straight out of the gate. You don't get perhaps as injured if you train heavily, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he is an ex-powerlifter who pulled a semi truck Yes.
No
Yeah.
wonder he's
Yeah.
broken.
Yep. And played rugby at like 45 years old.
Oh
So,
gosh.
yeah.
So no.
So yeah, so he used to run, and as a matter of fact, he paced me in my first when I finished Vermont for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was very special. That was very special. He ran the last 11 miles with me, I think. So, yeah.
Now he's your number one crew.
Now and which in and of itself is priceless,
Yeah.
right? Because he knows exactly what to do. He knows exactly what I need. I don't have to tell him anything,
Yeah.
So that was why it's kind of hurt to lose him,
Yeah.
you know, but he still comes for part of the day. He just can't do the whole thing anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've got other people anyway who are out
Yes.
there
Mhm.
in your crew team. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I sure do.
I wanted to ask you, and it's not related to running necessarily, but do you still have a horse?
I don't. I don't. I, as much as I loved riding and as much as it had been a part of my life since I was like 7 years old, it's really nice to not be married to the barn anymore or lighting my money on fire for that matter.
It is expensive.
So,
So my grandfather, because we grew up on the farm and it was his farm, he used to talk about them just being, they just consumed. They just ate the grass and ate the hay, and that's it. Because most of them weren't being used for stock work until I, get on them, go and help with the stock work. But it was there.
yeah, it's a very expensive hobby.
That's exactly what he used to say. Anyway, I always love to ask Americans who live in a place where it snows, because there is not very many Australians who live in that environment. We have snow here, but most people don't live in it. So what it's actually like to train and how you fit all that in. Like, is it you're shaking your head.
You make really good friends with your treadmill.
So it's hard there. It kind of looks pretty in some of the pictures when you see people dressed up in often fluoro clothes. So they stand out in the snow. Yeah. They look very...
Yeah. I mean, it can be done. And I, as a matter of fact, I ran yesterday. Myself and a friend of mine ran about 3.5 hours yesterday, and it snowed the entire time we were out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. We're friends on Instagram, right? Yeah, look at my Instagram post from yesterday.
I will.
But so there's safety factors you have to think about, and then we here in Vermont, it's called Vermud, actually. That's our state nickname. We have 5 seasons. We have summer, we have fall, we have winter, we have spring, and then we have mud season.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is quite foreign to a lot of the rest of the world, but they actually close our trails during mud season. They will not let us on them.
Is it too slippery?
Well, and they just don't want us to destroy the
trail,
the ecosystem and stuff. Exactly. Right. So a lot of us are stuck on the roads for most of the winter and most of the spring, especially late spring. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it can be done. You just need to, we use cleats, traction, we use poles, we use, several layers. I just did an event a couple of weeks ago. So in conjunction with the Vermont 100, I'm part of the charity team. So I'm a fundraiser for Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports, which is that race's benefactor. Oh. And they invite us to the visually impaired ski weekend at Pico Mountain, which is about an hour away from here. So I went and I guided some snowshoers, some visually impaired snowshoers. And one of the guys, when we got done, took a group picture, and he had portable thermometer with him. So we put that in the camera. It was a feels like temperature of minus 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me tell you what, it was brutal.
You were agreeing with it. It was definitely that cold.
Yeah. So you got to be careful, right? I mean, frostbite is a real thing, in the wintertime. And especially if you're out in the snow, if you're out on the trails in the snow and you get hurt or you get lost right. So there's a lot of other things you have to think about.
It's quite different, isn't it?
It is very different. You should come visit and experience it.
Yeah, I should. I could come play in the snow. I'm kind of happy that I don't have to do it all the time, though.
Well, then it will be novel for you, right?
Exactly.
So you'll think it's cool.
Exactly, all that. Now, I wanted to ask you about the treadmill because I remember we talked a little bit about treadmills when we were doing the course as well. I recently got a treadmill, and it feels really weird to me to have something else dictate the speed I'm going.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips? Like, I haven't really run longer than like half an hour on the treadmill so far. And obviously there might be times when I'm going to want to use it for longer for different reasons.
Sure.
But yeah, do you have any tips on how to get used to running on a treadmill?
So go slower than you think you should, for that reason, right? Because if you think about if you're running by RPE, rate of perceived effort, right, outside, when the effort becomes too great, you just naturally slow down a little bit, right? To keep yourself in that zone. Well, you can't do that on a treadmill. Well, you can,
press a button,
but you really kind of need a Jeopardy like clicker, right? To so that it does that. So yeah, I would say start off a little bit slower than you think you should.
Yeah.
To get accustomed to having the belt moving for you, basically. But one of the biggest bangs for the buck that you can get on a treadmill is doing things on an incline.
I do have, mine does do incline and decline. Yeah. I do a little bit of decline on mine
too. That's nice.
Which is weird.
Yeah. I haven't experienced that. No, but definitely doing, on an incline, doing tempo work, threshold work, power hiking even, right? Works the posterior chain. Yeah. Trust me, I did all of that this year.
A lot of snow.
Finally got to do a threshold workout outside last week, and I was thrilled.
Oh
yeah.
Well, I might need to use the incline a little bit more and see what that's.
I think that's really, like I said, a big bang for your buck with a treadmill is doing that.
I live
right?
at the top of a hill.
For people who are going to do a hilly race and they don't have access to hills, right? Utilize that treadmill.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, which is interesting that you bring that up. I wanted to ask, as a coach of, quite experienced coach that you are, what are some of the things that you find that people struggle with when it comes to training, to running in an ultra? Like, what do they get tripped up with a lot, especially, people who are, women in our age group? They often have these kind of ideas. They want to go out there and run these big races.
The biggest thing is understanding that it's a big commitment. It blows my skirt up sideways when well, do you think I can run a 50K on 3 days a week? No, that's the answer. No. And that's, I don't know if, how into that you are, but like that was a big thing a few years ago. That was the big thing. Run faster, run less, run faster, or something like that. And it's like, look,
comes along with HIIT stuff, doesn't it? It's like you've.
Yeah, that's just not a good idea. So they don't understand when they have a full-time job and they have kids and they have a husband, they have this and that and the other thing. And then, they're trying to fit in 5 days of running a week and a long run on the weekends when their kids have activities. And the reality is sometimes, especially busy moms, right? it's very hard to fit that in, and you have to understand it's a big commitment, and you need to respect the distance and not just wing it. That's the other thing that goes up my skirt sideways, is winging it. I'm going to run 4 days this week and 3 days next week and none the next week. And, my longest run has been 10 miles. Do you think I can do a 50K? No. So I think that is one of the biggest things that trip people up, is they don't understand that it's not just like a 50K is not just 5 miles longer than a marathon. It's a completely different animal. It often takes you a lot longer than a road marathon.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
You're on the trails, and it's just a whole different animal. Now, on the flip side of that, I think another thing that trips people up is they think they have to run 100-mile weeks.
Yeah.
And they have to do a 100K training race leading into their 100-miler. And as you know from certification, that is not true either. No. So you have both
the overtraining and the undertraining.
I see that a lot. I think that's probably the two biggest things I see when, speaking with a prospective athlete, or even answering questions like in a Facebook group, right? If someone might have those questions, what's your longest long run before a 100-miler? Well, that's arbitrary. We're not even going to get into that. Yeah. But too little or too much, I think.
So my daughter, who's 32.
Goldilocks syndrome.
Yeah, I literally wrote Goldilocks down. We must be in some sort of thing.
Ooh,
I wrote it down when you said that. Anyway, my daughter and I, she's 32, and she's coming to do the 200-miler with me in a few weeks. And the most she's done 100K race in the last year. But we have the same coach. The point of the thing is we have the same coach, and her training looks a lot different than mine. As in, it looks like the coach is taking it easy on me. She gets a lot of harder work than me, but she seems to be able to do it. But again, like you said, it's comparing apples and oranges. We're two very different people. Which I think is fascinating.
Yep.
And so, where have you seen the most success in your coaching when it comes to the people you're coaching, the athletes?
I think you need to clarify that a little bit for me. I'm not sure what.
So where they actually reach their goals. So they come to you often, I assume, your athletes with a goal. Where do you see the ones that have the most success? Because they're not all going to hit that goal for different reasons, like life happens, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I suppose maybe it is just the Goldilocks kind of, maybe it just comes back to that. But, is it people whose attitude is going to be a little bit different, that they listen to what you say? I don't know.
Yeah. That's a big thing, right? I mean, you have to trust your coach for one. And the coach has to trust their athletes too. It's a symbiotic relationship. But it's the ones who can mitigate those expectations, right? And understand that if things aren't going well for whatever reason, change jobs, sick kid, divorce, like whatever it is, right, going on in their lives, that is going to derail their training, being able to accept that and come up with a more appropriate goal is always the right answer, right? So I've had the bulk of my athletes that I have right now, I've had for a very long time. Yeah. And so we've gone through a lot together. Yes. Successes and failures, right? And that's part of it. Failing is not failure, right? You learn more from the races that go wrong than from the ones that go right.
I agree.
Right. So I don't consider it a failure on my part or their part if things fall apart in a race, because 100 miles is a long way to go, right? For some people, 50K is a long way to go. And anything can happen. Weather can happen, or, blisters can happen, or GI upset can happen. And you just learn from it and carry that to the next race.
Yeah.
Right. So success means something different to each one of them.
So do you have athletes that you take through their coasting period as well? Like you said, you've had athletes for a long time. So they're literally there with you.
Yep.
All the time. Like
yes.
Permanently. I can't remember the word I'm looking for.
Permanently.
Anyway, all the
never
time.
going anywhere.
So and those that listen to this, remember that you are stuck now with Faith permanently until we find her on a trail.
Yes.
So you take them, to their goal event each year, or their multiple events, depending on the athlete, I assume. And then you take them through that, what we call a coasting sort of period, where they haven't quite decided what their next thing is, that kind of mode.
Yep. And we work on other things. Maybe we work on some trail skills, or we work on more strength training, or, some mental skills or something. And I encourage them to maybe learn something new, right? While we're going through this transition phase, maybe learn how to box, or learn how to be a better cyclist, or learn Taekwondo, or like something else outside of running, right?
Oh, wow. I love that. I never thought as a running coach that I would suggest someone take up Taekwondo. It's really cool. I love it.
Yep.
I do. That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you, what is your next goal? Vermont.
Yeah. So I have three lead-in 50Ks for the spring. But yeah, not quite going to put a number out there because it's mine. So I'm not going to put it out there, but I would like to set a personal course PR at the Vermont 100K this year.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Yep. I want to set a PR, but I have a specific number in mind.
Okay. Well, we'll all be rooting for you, Faith.
Oh, thank you. You want to come over and run with me?
They're like, yell at you from here. I'd love to come over there and run with you. That would be awesome. After that, like, I'm already thinking about what I might do after my event, which is a bit closer than yours at the moment.
Yep.
Do you have other things that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm signed up for a 100-miler in October.
Okay. So that's do you have any rules isn't the right word, but do you have any thoughts about how many of these big events you should do in a year? Or is it, again, it's just dependent upon, because I've had people getting on the podcast who doing them like, it feels like every month, might be every other month, but they're doing that or a Backyard Ultra or something.
So I think it is very individual. Some people recover like a boss. And of course that changes as we get older. So, what you can do this year isn't necessarily what you're going to be able to do next year. But yeah, I mean, I think a couple of 100-milers a year is probably good. For most people. I've done 2 100-milers in a 12-month period.
Yeah.
And I did quite well. Like, I was surprised at how well I did at the second one. Oh. But will I ever do that again? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. It would have to depend, right? And it depends on the races too, right?
Yes,
is it a
flat, what the cutoffs and what the things are?
Is it a flat 100-miler or is it hard rock, right? Or so I think that matters too, and people don't think about that part of it,
Do you have, I know the Vermont one is really important to you, but do you have any one, you were talking about Boston Marathon. If you were a marathoner, that would be like the holy
Yeah.
grail for some people in
Yeah.
that space. Do you have any, because America has a lot of the iconic ultra
Yeah.
trail events. Do you
Um,
have any of those in your, not that you
I
necessarily
mean,
want to do them, but you'd think, oh, I would like to do that under the right circumstances, blah, 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 blah.
oh, I would love to do Western states. I mean, um, I, and for me, so I think now knowing the clusterfuck that, sorry, Boston can be, with the logistics,
Yes.
right, of getting there and standing in a corral for hours, not like, I don't think I would ever do it, even though, you know, but just qualifying for it, right? No one can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
So because I have finished the Vermont 100, I have qualified for Western states, and nothing will ever take that away from me, right? So
That's so cool.
that to me was like the pinnacle. That was, shoot for the moon and land among the stars, right? So yeah, and I would love to. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's really not. The canyons can be very, very hot. I don't deal with heat well, especially now as an older female. So, and I'm not a super strong trail runner, so staying ahead of the cutoffs there, I think would be a huge problem.
They're quite,
But I'm qualified for
tough,
it. Yeah.
So are you qualified for life? Is that how that works? It's not like
Yes.
except for the next 2 years.
No, you have to requalify every year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you,
Yep. But
so
like I said, that's something that no one can ever take away from me, right?
exactly. You should have that on a t-shirt. I love it.
Yeah.
And we've alluded to this a little bit, but as we get older, I assume we need to change what our goals will be. Like at some point, I still feel 19, like in my head. My body doesn't always feel 19, but in my head. And I was brought up by a mum who said, if there's anything you really want, the only thing stopping you is you. You can do whatever you want. So unfortunately, that means now I'm, 57 going on 60. It's like, I don't want to put those boxes around me or limit myself. Sorry. Anyway, I don't know. How do you face that as we get older? How do you stop yourself going after things that maybe are too much, or is that not a thing? Should we not put those limits on us? I guess, is there a limit as we get older? I suppose I'm asking.
I mean, I think only you can answer that for yourself, right? And that's, like I said, I've come to realize that I'm probably not going to get any faster. So,
but you could go longer.
but staying ahead of the cutoffs at the Vermont 100 mile is probably beyond me now. So what is the next thing I can do that's still a challenge? And that's doing the 100K and doing it well. Yeah. Right. Because I've done it 3 times. I've gotten faster each time. But I still come across the finish line feeling like there's something left in the tank. That means I didn't do it right. So hopefully this time I'm like using my fingernails to like crawl across the line. That's my goal.
All those pictures where they go, what are those crazy people doing to themselves?
Yes.
This is just evidence of how bad this sport is.
But I think that's what, just because one race or one, something is beyond your capability now doesn't mean that there isn't something else that can still speak to you.
Do you ever think about yourself, personal challenges? Like, because mostly we've talked about events, and then you're trying to fit inside, race cutoffs and things like that. Do you ever think about, some kind of personal challenge? What you've got the Appalachian Trail and other, I don't know, just things like whether
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep. So there's a route in Vermont, Route 100, it basically goes from Canada to Massachusetts. The whole length of it's 200, and I think it's almost exactly 200 miles.
Awesome.
And I don't think it's ever been done on foot, like in one stretch. It's a road. It's not a trail. It's a road. But it's one of the most scenic roads in Vermont. And I've been toying with the idea for a few years now of doing that and doing like an FKT.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love it.
So we'll see.
Yeah. But that's what I love. That's what I love about running. Like even in my brain, I come up with little ideas like that from time to time. And I think, oh, that'd be so cool. And you don't have the pressure of, because I get very nervous at races, weirdly, even though I've got no chance of winning or doing anything. My brain still goes into overdrive about that stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes the idea of doing something that's more a personal challenge fits more in my wheelhouse as well.
Yeah.
All right. Faith, I've kept you forever. You've been amazing.
Okay.
Before we go, there's two things. I usually ask people for tips for beginner runners or just to keep people motivated running, which, you've given us a bunch of tips as we've gone along as well. Do you have any tips for people to stay motivated in their running?
You have to find the joy, I can't tell you how many times I see like in Facebook groups and stuff, I hate running and I'm doing this race. And I'm like, then why are you running? Like, I don't find something else, ride a bike, swim, like do something. No one says you have to do this. Just because marathoning is the big thing right now doesn't mean you have to do it, So I think if you're this may sound off the wall, but I think if you're having trouble staying motivated to do something, maybe it's not what you should be doing. There's something missing. And maybe if you can figure out what that is, are you having too much stress in your other parts of your life that's taking away from this? And now your running feels like a job.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It'll always be there for you, right? Handle your business, right? Whatever you need to focus on right now is fine.
Yeah.
So.
Or change the way you're running. Like take
Or
the
change,
pressure off that running.
or change exactly. No one says, so, one of the big things that's happening here, is road marathons. They're making the cutoffs longer and longer and longer. Right. So everybody can get a trophy. And the thing of it is, you don't need that kind of validation to be a runner, right? If you say that it's a 6-hour cutoff and you can't make a 6-hour cutoff, you can still go and do 26.2 miles
any day.
And you're a marathoner, right? You don't need to have that little medal or, to validate you. You're still a marathoner, So one of the guys that I worked with, I felt so bad. A week before his 100-miler, it got canceled because of wildfires.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So this guy recruited some friends, and I forget how long the loop was from his house. It was like maybe a 5-mile loop or something. He did his own self-supported 100-miler. Like the firemen in town came out and ran loops with him. And he didn't have a buckle to show for it at the end or anything, but he did it. That was his biggest accomplishment to date, how he felt, So my point being, you don't need to do a scheduled event in order to be a runner or be a marathoner or an ultra marathoner for that matter.
Yeah.
Take the pressure off and just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Before we wrap up, the last question I always ask people is there anything about running that we haven't touched on that you wanted to share?
I don't think so. We did a lot.
We've danced around a bit.
Covered a lot.
Well, Faith, you have been an inspiration. You are an inspiration. I've loved hanging out with you here and learning a bit more about you. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it.
You are very welcome. Thanks for having me.
We will put a link to your coaching as well so that people can follow up with that too if you ever have any space. And I meant to say when you were talking before that, a lot of your coaching is done virtually. So people can be anywhere in the world if
anywhere in the world.
With you. So I will put that link in there as well as the one to UESCA where we first met. But,
excellent.
Again, thank you for sharing. You're a rock star. Don't jump off straight away, but thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
You bet.
Thanks for tuning in to the ZenRUN podcast. I hope today's chat left you feeling just a little more inspired to move in your way and on your terms. If you've got a running story you'd love to share, please reach out. I'm always looking for real, relatable stories that help remind us we're not alone. Whether it's a big goal, a quiet win, or simply why you keep showing up, I'd love to hear it and I'd love to share it. Plus, if you're curious about the ZenRUN Club, come take a look. It's a low-key space with guided runs, simple training plans, and monthly challenges to help keep your running fun, motivating, and totally stress-free. Until next time, keep running, keep breathing, and keep showing up for yourself.